Hey, welcome guys. Namaste. All right. Let's see. So you can leave. Hi, Nancy. Good to see you. You can leave your if you have a specific question or if something is weird with the feed, you can leave that in the comments over there. I did have some people who, hey Melissa, I had some people who asked me some questions when I first posted about this. So I may not get to all those questions. I may also not answer them in the way that you were hoping or expecting. And as usual, I will try and make this talk available afterwards for anyone who who came late and wants to start from the beginning, or if you missed something in there or you want to go back over it. I'll make it available online afterwards. Okay. All right. So I wanted to start with something that Maggie had sent to me. She just sent it to me a minute ago, actually. And you might have already seen this or heard this, but I thought it was very appropriate. So citizens of Wuhan can finally hear birds chirping after years. Venice's water canals are clear and full of fish. And you can even see the Tatra Mountains from Krakow because the smog has lifted. This isn't an apocalypse, it's an awakening. Okay, so yeah, I know that many people are scared. I think mostly because of the economic outcome of what's going on right now. The uncertainty of what's going to happen to our jobs, how much money are we going to make, all this kind of stuff. But I mean, wow, environmentally, if you haven't heard, I mean, it's absolutely incredible. I've seen shots that were taken by satellite of Italy, Wuhan province in China, where, over the time when they were enforcing social distancing and quarantine, pollution dropped by huge amounts. And some of this is sort of showing us how much what we do as human beings, how much strain we're putting on the natural environment. And that might be not news to anyone who's on this chat, but I think a lot of us, we want our cake and we want to eat it too. So we want to run around like maniacs, making millions of dollars, living large, and then we want to be kind to the environment. I think there is a way for us to live in harmony with the environment, but it's kind of amusing to me sometimes when, I talk to students or, people who are in sort of the new age community or the yoga community, and, they talk about steps that they've taken to, somehow be, less impactful. And it's not that that's not a good thing. I think it very much is. But I will say that I don't think as a modern American or anyone who's living in a modern industrialized culture, you don't get off the hook because you cut out meat. You don't get off the hook because you recycle. Our lifestyle just fundamentally is so harsh that I think we really have to look at the very fundamental basis of the way that we're doing things. And I'm not saying I have answers, but I think this virus and what's happened and what it's showing us is really how much of an impact that we're having on the environment. And it's not pretty. I mean, it's almost like we're some kind of a disease that this planet has. And right now, it's almost like the planet's immune system has created something that has caused us to retreat for a minute. Now, I actually think that this is a very compassionate thing, that the planet, if I'm giving the planet a sort of personality, I'm not saying it has one, I'm not saying it has a will, I'm not saying it decides things like this. But if we were to anthropomorphize the planet, then it looks like a pretty compassionate thing, that it managed to get us to chill out and to see the impact that we're having, killing very, very few of us, actually, when you look at it. So we're doing a lot of the self-quarantine thing. And if you don't understand that yet, I might do another video where I talk about that. I find there's a lot of confusion about why we self-quarantine. We don't self-quarantine because we're afraid of dying or getting sick. Okay, I'll repeat that. You don't self-quarantine because you're worried about getting sick. So the fact that you're not worried about getting sick doesn't mean you should go out and, go to a bar and hang out with your friends. It doesn't mean you should go over to your friend's house and have a little, watch party of your favorite, show that you're binge watching. Like, don't do it. Stay away from other people. You can go outside. In fact, I recommend going outside. But you don't self-quarantine because you're worried about getting sick. That's not why you do it. Okay, it's much more complex than that. So again, I didn't intend for this video to be, an education about self-quarantine, but just realize that if you're thinking, oh, well, I'm not worried about getting sick, so, I'm going to go to the bar. That's not the reason that you're self-quarantined, okay? So just to be clear about that, it's not about you. And that's kind of the point that I was bringing up at the beginning, that we see what's happening in the environment. We as human beings, we are part of a larger whole. And we tend to forget that and to overlook that. Almost as a rule, we tend to just overlook and forget that we are part of this planet. We are an outgrowth. We're like flowers on this planet. Now, when we fully awaken, I think we are really a testament to the beauty of this planet and this universe. But before we fully awaken, it's almost like we're worse than the worst animal. We really have something that really is kind of ugly and nasty inside of us. And it's very unfortunate, but that tends to be the case. And so that's what yoga and my teaching is all about, is beginning to overcome or to transcend that. Yeah, Nancy, that probably will happen. I really don't know how much we will really learn from this. I was saying to, I think it was Maggie I was speaking to the other day, and I was saying, this might be the first wave of many. So please consider that maybe this is the first rather compassionate, message from Mother Nature, warning us and showing us what we're doing, firsthand. It's you can't question it. Again, in Venice, the water is clear for the first time. Smog is clearing up. All sorts of changes, and I have a feeling we'll learn more as time goes on. We might see the effects of this throughout the year, even if this only lasts a few weeks. The fact that it's rather extreme, the pollution going down, all that, we might see some of the effects. And, some people will try and deny that. Other people are going to go back to just business as usual. And it's going to be hard not to. But I suspect that this might be the first of as many waves as need to happen. And each one might be more violent and more scary, and more people might get sick and die until we really get the message, or until maybe we're just wiped off the planet. Who knows? So I don't want to be too bleak. That wasn't my intention with this, but yes, Nancy, I think that is a real concern. Right, and that's Ashley's point, but we are getting a chance to see the difference. So, hopefully this will maybe open some people's eyes. Maybe it will wake some people up. And like the quote I read from Maggie at the beginning, this is an awakening. This isn't an apocalypse. It might be an apocalypse for us as human beings. And again, if we have a limited human perspective, if that's the only thing we can relate to, if we can't see that this is maybe good for the planet, but we're just so worried about our bottom line, or what am I going to do, right? That's, by definition, what the ego is all about. And that's probably the cause of the problem in the first place, okay? So just keep that in mind. Now, the first point that I wanted to make, I wrote some things down here, is that this too shall pass, okay? And this is a fundamental tenet in Buddhism, that everything is impermanent. Now, sometimes people hear that and they think that that's pessimistic. It's not pessimistic, it's realistic. Okay, as I said the other day, Buddha once said that whether Buddhas appear in the world or not, and what is a Buddha? A Buddha is someone who is awake. A Buddha is someone who sees reality as it is without the filter of the ego. Even if they maybe still have an ego, they know how to sort of see around it or see beyond it. They might see the ego functioning there. It's not a showstopper. Ramakrishna talks about that. He says some people have an ego and the ego actually serves spirit. So it's not necessarily about being completely free of the ego. We can wake up without being completely free of the ego. It's nice to be completely free because the ego is the source of our suffering. But even if it's still there, we can be very, very awake regardless of that. So whether Buddhas appear in the world or not, the nature of reality remains the same. So it doesn't matter whether you like impermanence or not. That's not the question, right? Many people say, oh, I don't like Buddhism because it's so pessimistic. Well, impermanence is just a fact. Nothing that you are aware of is going to last forever. Nothing. Not this planet, not the sun, not the solar system, not the universe, not your body, not your friends, not your family, not this culture. Nothing is going to last forever. And if you're awake, things are constantly changing and shifting. Some of you know my mother's Japanese, so I started going to Japan when I was a very young boy. And it's interesting seeing cultures when you are removed from them, but you get to go every now and then. So even in my lifetime, I've seen the Japanese culture change each time I go back. It's like going to a different country to some degree. Now, of course, our own culture here has changed, but we may not have seen that change because we're too close to it. And that's very often the case. We also, as individuals, are changing. And this, again, points to another fundamental tenet of the Buddhist teaching, that really there is no solid self to hang on to. It just doesn't exist. And I know you all think that you exist as separate selves, and that's the very self that you're worried about preserving, right? Self-preservation. Deborah wanted me to talk a little bit about the ego, and this maybe is a good place to put that in. We're all worried about preserving ourselves. Now, some of us have extended that to our family, and we want to preserve our family or our children or our loved ones. It's still just an extension of this idea of the self. I want to save my family. I don't care what happens to the family next door. I care about my family. So I'm going to do what's right for my family. Now, I'm not saying that's evil or bad or wrong. It's very, very natural, okay? And it's also natural for us to have a self-preserving instinct. The Yoga Sutras, which is a very ancient scripture that we use to train yoga teachers, says in there that even in the wise, fear of death is still often present. So again, these are things that we may never be completely free of in our lifetime, but we can start to see how there is a bigger picture. that if maybe the planet needs to do certain things to rebalance herself so she can continue sustaining life on this planet, and maybe that's going to mean some inconvenience for us human beings. Now, I like to believe that if we were more awake, spiritually speaking, we wouldn't need Mother Nature to correct us. We could do it ourselves. But fact of the matter is, and I think most of you are going to agree with this, most people are not spiritually awake. Now, again, it doesn't make them evil. It doesn't mean that they should be punished. It doesn't mean that we should scowl at them or shout at them. It doesn't mean we're better than them. Okay? That's not what this is about. But the fact of the matter is most people aren't spiritually awake. They are concerned mostly about number one, maybe solely about number one. That's all they're concerned about. And if they are inconvenienced in any way by thinking about the planet or thinking about others, they're just not interested. Okay? So again, it doesn't mean they're evil. It doesn't mean they're our enemy, but it's just something that we need to be aware of. So is this an opportunity for us to wake up? Absolutely it is. How many people will wake up from this? I have no idea. All right, so this will also pass. And I actually think this is a very beautiful period of time. And part of the reason I have the luxury of feeling that is that I'm not afraid. Now, some of you might hear that and think, oh, well, you must have it easy. And I spoke to this the other day when I gave a talk. I don't have it easy. I don't have an inheritance coming from either my parents. They both basically, blew all their money and, doing their thing, which is fine. But I don't have anything coming. I also live alone. All right. I have a girlfriend, but we don't share finances. Okay. I live alone. I work. I'm a professional yoga teacher. That is not a high income job. And I'm essentially out of work now. Many of you have donated very generously to me. You've joined Patreon. You've sent me money for these talks and the classes that I'm putting up. But it doesn't come close to my normal pay. And it doesn't cover my bills. So I want to make it very clear that I'm in the same boat. I'm not talking from, outside of this thing in some kind of bubble where, I'm like, calm down, guys, calm down. There's nothing to worry about, and I'm sipping on martinis. I live in a dinky little apartment. I'm not that far above the poverty line, chances are. So this is potentially very scary for me too, and it may get very bad. It could get very bad. I don't know what's coming down the pipe, just like the rest of you. But the thing about doing yoga, if it's working, then at a time like this, you find yourself surprisingly calm. And it's not something that you can explain. And in the Bible, this is described as the peace that passeth all understanding. And that is what we want to cultivate with our spiritual practices. I don't care if it's yoga, I don't care if it's Christianity or Judaism or Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism. If our spirituality is working, and that's a big if our spirituality is working, then when the proverbial shit hits the fan, we find ourselves surprisingly calm and centered, even though we don't know what's coming. So again, I don't know any more than you know what's coming down the pipe. For all I can see is it doesn't look pretty right now. Okay? But I'm actually enjoying this. This is an interesting change of pace. I've got to do things that I haven't got to do in years. I've also got to do things like this, which I've never done. And I'm growing, I'm learning things as a result. I'm connecting with people I haven't seen before, or haven't seen in a long time. I'm also connecting with people I've never connected with before in ways that I've never connected before. So this is the beauty of something like this, is it shakes things up. It changes things up. That is the very nature of creativity. So this is a very creative time. It's also time for us to go inward and to reflect. And that's a very important thing to do. Ariella asked me to comment about wood energy and, you know, yin and yang as we move into spring. And so what's interesting about what's happening right now is, again, this is coming along right as wood energy, which is spring energy, is beginning to blossom, which is a energy of vision, of envisioning the future. So the way the Taoists see it is, spring comes, things begin to grow, and they, you know, now is the time to sort of set yourself up. And then in the summer, you continue to grow, and then in the fall, you begin to harvest, and then in the winter, you want to rest and you want to introspect. So what I think is interesting about this spring is the energy of the coronavirus, which is just part of the natural world. It's just part of nature, right? Viruses are a part of nature, and we are a part of nature. So this virus, even though it seems like something that is threatening us, and yes, it might threaten us on a personal level, it might threaten us on a national level, it might threaten us as a species even, but the larger sense of self is at one with nature, one with all things. So in a sense, this is part of our own nature. This is a message from our own nature being sent to us. And again, I have a feeling this might be a warning. This might be a, hey, pay attention. Pay attention. Look at what's going on. And if we don't pay attention, if we don't learn anything from this, then again, there might be wave after wave after wave of worse and worse things to come in the future. Okay? So again, wood energy, but what we're being encouraged to do right now by coronavirus is to slow down, to become still, to become quiet, not to run around with our frantic, what we normally would be doing, right? Trying to make a buck, trying to get ahead, trying to, you know, get whatever project that we want off the ground, do all the things that we normally do. So this is forcing us to slow down, to stop. Many people have become interested in my teaching all of a sudden. Other people have come back, you know, who I've lost touch with. So again, this is causing people to question things. That's a good thing. And at those times, people very often look to spirituality for answers. And that is also a good thing, depending on the type of spirituality that you're involved with. Okay, so this too shall pass. And the next thing I wanted to hit on is gratitude. Oh my God. Are you grateful? Are you grateful right now? Because you should be. I certainly hope you are very, very grateful right now for whatever you have in your life, because chances are way more is going right now than is going wrong. If you're listening to this, chances are you are so blessed in so many ways. You have ears that work. You probably have eyes that work. Your heart is pumping. Your lungs are breathing. You probably have a high-tech computer. That is a miracle. When I was growing up, a computer this powerful would have had to take up rooms in NASA. Okay, and now it's just sitting here on my desk, and I can just, you know, talk to you over the internet. The internet, I mean, that's another thing to be grateful for. Okay, so gratitude is an interesting thing. I've had a couple conversations with close friends about this, and probably about a year ago, I like to eat out a lot. It's one of the pleasures of life for me, for whatever reason. I don't know why that is. I just enjoy it. I usually eat about once a day, and I like to eat a big meal, get a lot of calories in there. And so usually I work hard until relatively late at night, I like to stop somewhere, have someone prepare me something hot. I very often have a drink with that, which is not a problem because I haven't had a drink since this whole thing happened. It's not an addiction. I can stop anytime I want, but I enjoy it. Again, I just enjoy it. So it's what I like to do. Evening, sit down, hot meal, have a beer, and unwind. And probably about a year and a half ago, when Maggie was still in town, I'd be out at dinner. I'd just be like absolutely floored that that was possible. That I could walk into a place I've never been to before, or even if I've been there before, it doesn't matter, a restaurant. Someone comes up, asks me what I want. I can just look at this sheet of paper and pick out something and say, hey, this is what I want. And then someone back there has all those ingredients. I mean, some of these ingredients have been pulled from around the world. They're just sitting back there waiting for me to say, this is what I want. Someone puts that together, brings it out, and it's hot, it's well prepared, it's safe to eat. If it's not, I can send it back and complain, and they come back, oh, I'm so sorry. I mean, I can't make you understand what a miracle that is if you don't understand it, but I hope you do. I mean, my God, we are so blessed. It blows my mind. And I was talking with Matt just the other day, and he maybe had a little bit of a premonition. He was walking, his wife didn't want to go to the grocery store, so he said, okay, I'll go. He went to the grocery store, and he was walking through the store, and he just got this sense of gratitude, like all the shelves were full. There were other people walking around. I mean, it was such a miracle to have all this stuff there, just waiting again for you to pick it off the shelf and put it in your basket. And he just went to the grocery store the other day, and whole shelves were empty. People were walking around looking really miserable. And what's nice about the work that Matt has done, and hopefully all of you are doing, is that it doesn't take the shelves being empty for us to feel that gratitude. Matt felt that before this happened. Okay? Same with me. I haven't been able to eat out because of this whole thing. I could, but again, I hope you guys are taking this social distancing thing seriously. If you're not, I really encourage you to start. Don't go out to eat with your friends. Don't go to your friend's house for dinner. Avoid interacting with people in person. Meet with them online. Okay, I know it's not fun, but this is partly why we're doing this type of interaction. We really need, for the safety of other people, for the safety of our healthcare workers, the safety of many other people other than ourselves, we need to stay put. We need to stay away from public places. Okay? So again, that feeling of gratitude that comes before we lose something. Now, maybe we've lost something with this coronavirus. Maybe we've lost some work. Maybe we've lost some opportunities. Some of you know I had the Chantlanta thing coming up, and that was totally blown by this whole coronavirus thing. Me and some other musicians put together a great set of music. We streamed it, but I watched the stream, and it was very, very uneven. A lot of the nuance of what we're doing was completely lost. And that's just it. What can you do? These things happen. And so, again, I get it. I get it in a very real way. But again, this is much bigger than us, our personal grievances. And if we can't get past that, then either you're not practicing yoga and meditation, or if you are, it's not working. So I'm sorry, I don't want to put anybody down, but that's the reality of it. So if you've been doing this for a while and you're not there, then you need to take a look at that. And this is something I'm trying to do more as a teacher, work one-on-one with students when necessary. So if you are, practicing, you're doing meditation that I taught you or someone else taught you, you're doing yoga, you've been doing it for years, and yet this comes along and you're stressed out and you're terrified and all you can think about is your own suffering in this, then, I'm available to talk with you, because this work is about seeing the bigger picture, really having our eyes open, okay? So gratitude, guys, we really shouldn't have to lose something to be grateful for it. Gratitude should arise all the time, even right now, okay? So our health workers, grocery store workers, food industry people, all these people that are out of work and we rely on normally, and now are in either being overworked or underworked. Like in my industry, basically yoga is completely shut down. So I'm doing these sorts of things, but as I said, it really doesn't make up for the amount of income and work that I was doing before. So I often feel this way going to work. I feel grateful for my job. I feel grateful that people show up and want to take my class. It doesn't require this kind of a thing for me to stop and feel grateful. So I would encourage you, if you're missing something right now, you're missing your paycheck, you're missing whatever, well then if things come back to normal, you should be very grateful when it comes back, because now you see it's not a given. Okay, it's not a given. It's not something that you deserve. Okay, it is a blessing, just like everything else. And what do you have now that's a blessing? This computer that you're listening to me on, the electricity that's running. Okay, your electric bill is paid. Next week, maybe it won't be. Okay, maybe mine won't be. Maybe I won't be here next week. Okay, but for now, again, we talked about this in the last talk. And if you didn't see that and you want to see it, I keep referencing it, then go to the Patreon page. I put it up there. Okay, but these lights, I could be grateful for that. My AC is running. I've got water in the fridge. My water is running. I can take a hot shower. Count the blessings. Again, my health is relatively, as far as I know, I'm okay. So, wow, just too many to count. Too many to count. There isn't time to be upset about what I don't have or what I'm missing, because there's so many blessings, okay? And this isn't some kind of new age mumbo jumbo. This is really how I feel, okay? And this is, again, what our practice brings out in us naturally. It isn't something that we have to stop and think about, oh, well, let me count my blessings. It's just when we're practicing the right way, it arises naturally and constantly. There is just a sense of gratitude. And one yoga teacher I really like said that gratitude is the closest emotion to how God feels. I don't know if that's true or not, but it sounds nice to me. Gratitude, that's how God feels. Feels gratitude all the time. And so the more gratitude you're feeling, the closer you are to divinity. All right, so moving on, I had some other points I wanted to hit on here. Okay, so this coronavirus thing, it maybe is caused you to be afraid because you're now uncertain about the future. And this goes back to a little bit of what I was saying at the beginning of the talk. That's reality, folks. Okay? You maybe thought you knew what was going to happen this week, and now it's completely different. But I'll tell you that every week before this one, when you told yourself what was going to happen, and it more or less happened that way, that was just kind of dumb luck. Okay? This is reality. This could happen anytime. Okay? Coronavirus, meteor shower, giant earthquakes, tsunamis, whatever it is. Okay? Even our just personal health. We could go to the doctor and find out that we have some kind of a, illness or something that's going to take our life away from us. We could get hit by a car. Okay, so our mind likes to tell us that it knows what the future is, and if the future looks bright, it likes to tell us to, chill out and just have fun and ignore problems because things look bright and cheery for us anyway. We don't really care if someone else is suffering, but as long as it looks good for us, then we're happy. And then it does the same thing in the other way, where if things look bleak or scary, then it flips out. And so the truth of the matter is we always live in a mystery with uncertainty. That is just the way it is. You may not like hearing it. It doesn't matter if you like it or not. And, again, I'll go back to what Buddha said. It doesn't matter if Buddhas appear in the world or not. The nature of reality remains the same. It is a fact that we don't know the future. Nobody does ever, okay? We don't know what the stock market is going to do. We can make predictions. Some of those predictions might be right. Some of them might be wrong. We don't know what the coronavirus is going to do. We don't know if there's another virus coming. Again, I was talking about wave after wave if we don't learn our lesson here. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but it's just sort of a sneaky suspicion I have. Okay, I might be right, might be wrong. Doesn't really matter, okay, because I don't live in the future and I don't live for the future. And that's a very important point that I want to make with you guys, that you really want to start focusing more, again, on the gratitude that you have for things now. You also, if you're a student of mind, want to really find the peace and the joy that is present right now. Now. Meaning this now, not a minute from now, not after this talk is done, right now. Okay, there are many things we can be grateful for right now. And if we know what to do or how to do it, we can access peace and joy, a sense of, again, tranquility, a peace that is beyond, again, understanding and beyond circumstances that I talked about earlier. These are things that are accessible to us at all times. But generally speaking, we must practice in order to be able to access them, okay? So again, if you're shaken by this whole thing, I would encourage you to take a look at how you think reality works. And if you think this is some kind of like intrusion on real life or the way things are supposed to be, what I would say is you're kidding yourself, okay? Because this is as much the way things should be as the way they were before. This is just reality, and reality is what it is, okay? We may not like it, but it doesn't change that this is what's happening right now. This is what is going on. And if we want to be awake, like the Buddha, that's what Buddha means. It means the awakened one. If we want to be awake like Buddha, then we need to wake up to what is happening. And this is what is happening now, okay? So again, if I am really upset by this, if I'm stressed out by it, if there's a lot of anxiety, then are my practices working? What are my practices? Am I getting good guidance? Because this is why we do this work, so that when these things happen, we maintain our clarity and our peace and our joy, even in the face of this. And it may get much worse, who knows? Okay. This is related. Don't wait to be happy, okay? Consider this the new normal. So I know a lot of you are like, oh, well, I can't wait, till the kids are back in school, and I can't wait to, maybe that'll happen. Again, this is what I was just talking about. You think you know the way things are supposed to be, the normal, and you're waiting for that to happen again so you can go back to, because you were so happy before, right? A lot of us weren't happy before. We were complaining before, and now things just got worse. So we want to go back to how they were before. But We weren't happy then, a lot of us, if we're really honest with ourselves. Okay? So again, we want to be happy then, we want to be happy now. Chances are, if we're not happy now, chances are we weren't happy then. Chances are. Okay? Because again, this is that future orientation. It's like a disease in the mind that we're always waiting for the next thing. And so if something gets taken away from us, then we tell ourselves the story, I'm miserable because that thing was taken away from me. Well, if I give it back to you, guess what? You're going to find another reason to be miserable. You're going to look next to you and says, oh, well, that guy's got this thing. I want what he's got. Now I want what he has because he has something better than me. This is the way our mind works. If you don't believe me, start to watch your mind. How do you do that? You meditate, okay? You begin to see these things, okay? So don't wait to be happy. This is the new normal until it's not. Some of you think this is going to be over in a week or 2 weeks. It may not. I've heard predictions that this could go on as far as August and beyond, okay? Now, whether it's still going to be this particular thing, I don't know, but this could last a whole lot longer than we imagine. So we don't want to fall into the same trap where we're just waiting for this to be over to be happy again, okay? This is part of the reason why I'm offering these classes. I'm not going to sit around waiting for my class to get back to teach people. Especially, these are times when people need their yoga teacher probably more than ever. So I'm just going to work with what is available. Maybe in a few weeks we'll be meeting in the woods because none of us will be able to pay our power bill. I have no idea. Okay, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But again, let's cross this bridge and let's be grateful for what we have now. Let's find happiness, joy, and peace right now. Okay, gratitude once again. All right, here I have another point. Someone asked about how yoga can help us with anxiety and stress, and I get that. This is a very stressful and anxious time. So I'm going to give basically two levels of how yoga helps us, okay? So one level is on the surface, the most surface level. And this is the level that science is beginning to become very interested in. There's all kinds of studies that are coming out about this now. So these techniques, whether it's chanting, breathing techniques, the postures, meditation, the self-hypnosis like yoga nidra, more and more evidence comes out every day that these work, okay? There was a Harvard study that I posted about on the Patreon page. Again, if you guys really want to be plugged into what I'm offering and what I'm doing these days, check out the Patreon page. Follow me on there, sign up, because it's much better than Facebook for keeping people informed. On Facebook, there's just so much noise. It's so easy to miss something that I post. So anyway, I posted something up on there, and I think it's a Harvard medical school that's recommending that you practice yoga to deal with the stress and anxiety of this whole thing, okay? So how does it help us on a surface level? Those practices all will help us physiologically, and it will help our nervous system calm down. That's the first level. That is temporary. And so what that means is I can teach you, meditation or pranayama, or I can help you take you through a yoga class, and then you'll feel calm for a little while. And then once life kicks back in, you will get stressed out again, okay? And then you'll have to do another yoga class or another breathing technique or another meditation or whatever it is. And that's fine. But that's the most superficial level in which yoga helps us with our stress. On a deeper level, the reason why we want to do those techniques, and most of those, well, not most of them, but some of those techniques are considered just basically beginners techniques. The first level of yoga is, let's just get you calmed down. Let's calm your nervous system, okay? Then after we've done that, we want to start actually in a way aggravating you or triggering you. Okay, so if yoga is working, first you sort of are calmed down and you are led to feel that you are, safe, and you can trust your teacher, you can trust the practices, and you can trust the environment. Once that trust has been established, the practices, if they're working, should trigger you, which means that they're going to take you to your edge. What is your edge? Your edge is where you no longer feel comfortable or happy with what you're doing. And this is where a lot of people quit, unfortunately, because that's right when yoga is really starting to work. Now, if you quit there, what that means is you will forever be basically addicted to yoga techniques. And that's the person who runs into yoga class on, whatever day after a hard day of work and like, oh my God, I so need this class. Oh, I'm so stressed out. Okay, that's basically like a alcoholic coming into the bar and being like, bartender, give me a double. I had a hard day at work. Whoo, boy. Now you might think, well, yoga's good for me and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, it can be. You can also hurt yourself. You can also kill yourself with yoga, just like you can with alcohol. Okay, now I'm not saying they're exactly the same thing, but we can be addicted to anything, even yoga practices. And this is not something that's talked a lot about in yoga. All right, so if I'm using yoga in that way, I'm basically addicted to it. And this is very good for business. It's very good for my business. It's very good for yoga studios. It's great because you get stressed out because life is stressful. You're going to get stressed out. And then you come running back to the yoga class, yoga teacher, yoga studio for another fix. And then we relax you, and then you go back out. Oh, I feel so much better for a little while. Now, if you're doing the second phase, and again, most people, at least in the West, I don't know what's going on, in India or other countries, but what I see, most people stop there. Because when things get hard, you're no longer interested, okay? And at that point, if our yoga is working, it begins to bring up our stuff, our garbage. And we have to face our garbage. And as we face our garbage, we unload it. It's a little bit like having a lot of junk you stuck in the attic because you didn't want to look at it anymore. You didn't want to deal with it. You didn't want to decide whether you should throw it out or where you should put it, so you just hid it somewhere. And then if you want to get rid of it, if you want to lighten your load, you are going to have to look at all those things and decide, what am I going to do with this? And so meditation is very much that same thing. We basically bring up everything in our unconscious, in our psyche, and we have to face it. We have to look at it. And there's some ugly stuff down there. That's why we put it down there, folks, because we didn't want to look at it in the first place. And you think it's going to be fun looking at it again? No. That's why we put it down there. And that's why most people quit when it gets to this point. I don't want to look at that. I don't want to see that part of myself. I don't want to know how ugly, I can be. I don't mean physically ugly. I mean in our heart and in our mind. We're too afraid to find out that we're a bad person or we might have done bad things in the past. But there is not another way. There's not another way. Okay, so it is allowing us to bring that stuff up and to face that fearlessly. It's very scary. It's not a pleasant process. But what is the outcome of that? The outcome of that is that then we don't need the techniques anymore to not be stressed out. We just don't get stressed out. Okay? It may be first, I don't get stressed out as easily. Probably some of you have experienced even that, just doing the first phase. Okay? Even just going to the yoga studio and doing some classes and again, sort of just enjoying yourself, not doing anything too hard. You might have already noticed that, hey, I don't get stressed out as easily. But you still find that when you reach a certain level of stress, okay, I need to run back to the studio, I need to do another retreat, I need to whatever it is. Okay, and I'm not saying doing yoga at the studio is bad. I'm not saying going on retreats is bad. I'm not saying having a teacher is bad. Don't misunderstand me. Okay? But again, is it an addiction or is it something else? We want it to be something else. We want it to be a love affair. We don't want it to be an addiction. We don't want it to be, I need this. I am not my best self without this. We want this to be a loving, sharing relationship. That's ultimately what the teacher and student relationship should be. It should be essentially a love affair. Not a physical love affair, but it's just like a love fest. And that's really where we want to get to. Not, oh, I need this dude because I'm so stressed out. I need to go on retreat because, you know, I lost my way. Now, again, I know many of you are there, and that's okay. Okay, you're on your way. But the reason I'm giving this talk is not so much for those of you that are on your way, but maybe for some of you who are not on your way and you have stayed away from that second phase. And those of you who have done that second phase, I've seen all of you, at least the ones that have worked with me personally, I have seen you grow. And I know you are not the same reactive people that you were, you know, 6 months ago, a year ago, 3 years ago, however long we've been working together. And I see the progress over time, and I see how you mature spiritually. Okay, and I've talked with some of you through this whole thing, and I see how different your reaction is to a lot of other people's reactions. Okay, so again, my teaching is never about, you know, trying to shame people or guilt people or make people feel bad about, you know, what they're doing or their choices. If you're a first stage yogi and that's all you can handle, then that's just where you are right now, and that's fine. One day it may be different, it may never be different, and that's fine too. But I am just trying to make it clear for those of you who are right sort of on the edge, and you're like, yeah, I don't like the hard yoga. I don't like it when it gets uncomfortable. I don't like meditating. You know, one favorite line of people in yoga is, yoga is my moving meditation. Well, I'm going to call BS on that, okay? It's a moving meditation if you know how to meditate. If you can do not moving meditation, then you can do moving meditation. If you can't do not moving meditation, then there's no moving meditation. It might feel very good. You might reach a flow state. Flow state is not meditation, okay? Flow states come and go through what we call meditation. All states come and go through what we call meditation. Meditation is not a state. And if that doesn't make any sense to you, that's because you don't meditate, okay? So this is why we meditate. This is why we do the hard work, so we can understand these things about our mind. That's all it is. All meditation is it's you. You're just seeing you. It reveals you to you. And if you don't like what you see when you meditate, then why make us deal with it when you can't deal with it? Okay, if you can't sit down on a cushion and face yourself for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then you want to get up and start walking around, all that BS that you don't want to face is still there. It's still driving your actions. It's still driving your words. But instead of you having to deal with it on your cushion, we have to deal with it. All right? So meditating is a lot like brushing your teeth. You don't get anything when you brush your teeth. You get to keep something. Clean, healthy teeth. Okay? If you don't brush your teeth get rotten and they fall out. Well, meditation is like brushing your mind. If you don't meditate, then you get a nasty, ugly, rotten mind. Okay? And we have to deal with that. If you meditate, you clean up your mind, then you go about your day nice, clean, and fresh. And the more often you do it, the more consistently you do it, generally, the more clear your mind is going to be. Okay? All right, let me see if there's anything else on here. No, I think that's pretty much it for today. I think I covered mostly what I wanted to cover. I'm not sure there's anything in here in the comments that I missed. I do want to thank you all for showing up today. And these are all free, but as I said earlier, I am currently unemployed. And if you are not unemployed, or you just feel inspired to donate to help me out, here are some links. You can Venmo, PayPal me. You can join my Patreon page. Again, you can join. I recommend joining the Patreon page, even if you're not going to pay anything. Just sign up for updates, because that is sort of our online yoga studio right now, our ashram, if you will. That's where the Mahapatha yoga community is going to gather. That's where I'm going to post stuff probably several times a day. I'm trying to figure out, how much is too much, how much is not enough. I don't want to inundate you guys with too much material, but I do want to support you. And that's the main thing, is don't let money stop you. If you're getting something from this, please keep coming. I'm going to post classes every day. I posted a vinyasa class earlier today. Tomorrow will be a yin class. I'm going to do these talks. We're going to get together for virtual meetings. Maybe we'll do one tomorrow. I am going to give meditation instructions, so you keep hearing me harp on about meditation. Well, not all meditation is created equal. And so I'm going to teach you, if you're interested, the meditation that I recommend. And then, share this with people who you think can get something from it. Again, they do not need to pay a cent to take part in this. I really want to thank everyone for the support that you've given me in this community. In this time. It's a very interesting time right now. It's a lot of uncertainty, but as I said, one of the reasons why I'm not stressed out is I recognize every day the uncertainty. And again, I feel, not because I have to stop and think about it, I just feel that gratitude, for the life that we've been given, and it may be changing. And it may be changing for good. And I want to feel gratitude for the life that emerges, even if it's very different from the life that I was living before. And I'll be very grateful that I had a heart that could appreciate the life that I had, because maybe it's over. Maybe it's over. But as one of my teachers likes to say, everything is done for you and not to you. So this too has been done for you. And we want to get to the point where we are living that. We see that clearly, and we can say, thank you, with gratitude. Thank you for doing this for me. All right. Namaste, everyone. Thank you so much for your attention. I know some of the things we talked about, at least for some of you, might be hard to swallow. I'm not asking you to believe me. It's not my intention to try and convince you of anything. Maybe just sit with some of these ideas and see if there's some truth in them for you in your life. Maybe try out some of these ideas and see how they fit in your life, whether that makes sense for you or not. If there's reactivity there, if you took anything I said and said, oh, that's bullshit, I want you to look at that. Why such a strong reaction to that? Why reject that idea? Did you really consider it? How do you know that that idea is incorrect or wrong? Okay, so anything where we have a strong reaction like that, if we're meditators, if we're yogis, we want to notice, why do I hate that so much, that idea? Why am I so afraid of that idea? All right, everyone, thank you. I'll see you hopefully tomorrow sometime. Take part in the poll on Patreon. Let me know how I can support you. I'll probably put up another poll tomorrow about what we should do. But feel free to contact me as well, and we can even do one-on-one sessions if that's what you need for support. Namaste. Thank you.